Two losses in a row. Well, I'm going to give you some reasons to still be optimistic about Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider and the host of this great podcast. On today's show, I'm going to give you some reasons why BC should still be going bowling this season. I'll give you some reasons they're going to be optimistic about the offense, why the defense could still hang on, and I'll give you a reason to be optimistic about the future about one recruit that is blowing up. I'll explain all of that on today's show. Now, the offense has been absolutely gutted by turnovers over the last two games, as we had 3 fumbles against Virginia Tech. 2 of them were gone. And issues, I think it was 2 turnovers against Virginia the week before. So BC has been making way too many mistakes. Tommy Castellanos has 7 turnovers on the season. And while his interceptions have been going down, BC, who has an opportunistic defense, can't say that word 3 times, right? An opportunistic defense has been basically matched by their equally liberally sloppy offense. It's been killing them because the offense has moved the ball. They have had times where they have been efficient, but either a turnover or a missed play will kill them. So why should we be optimistic about this offense? Because they're not showing the statistics that show that this is going to be a team that can score tons of points. I go back to Tommy Castellanos. He's still here. I still think he's pretty healthy. And I think, and I hope that Bill O'Brien and Will Lawing look at him and say that we can still be even more efficient with what he can do. Because his lack of explosiveness has been an issue, but we saw glimpses of against Virginia Tech of what he can do when he runs the ball. Yes, he made mistakes, but he's still explosive. And you're playing a defense. I've been on 2 Louisville. I gotta say it right. It's not Louisville. It's Louisville. I got yelled at for saying it wrong. Louisville. 2 Louisville podcasts who are very concerned about how the Cardinals will respond against a mobile quarterback. They struggled against Cam Ward. They struggled against Haynes King. They've had issues against some quarterbacks that can move. And clearly, Tommy, who beat them up badly last year, even though they lost, could be an issue for them if they can't slow them down. So the game planning should, on the offensive side of the ball, be pretty self-explanatory. Should Tommy be throwing the ball deep down the field? No. Well, I mean, he should at times to keep them honest and, to lighten up the box and take advantage if they're going to do that. But he should be running the ball more. He's got to be. And if they run the ball more, and he's an old school coach, but I know Bill O'Brien knows deep down in his heart that if this offense really needs to connect more, they got to start running him more. They got to get him moving because that will open up the pass, which to O'Brien's credit, to Will Long's credit, to John DiBiaso's credit, has done an excellent job of fixing some of those issues. He's just got to hold on to the ball. And I think he can do that. If he can prevent, and look at the issues that he had on 2 of the 3 fumbles last week. One of them was a strip sack. That's going to happen, especially that's an offensive line issue. That's not really a Tommy thing. The other was a mesh handoff that got all janky, and then he didn't know if he was going to keep it or Kai was going to keep it. Based off of what Bill O'Brien said today, I think they've been working on all those issues all week. So hopefully that's going to be a one-time thing. The other issue was an issue, I think it was a pitch to Turbo Richard that just ended up on the ground. These are either not knowing the play calling well enough or getting, in the moment. They can be fixed. Good coaching can fix this stuff. Will it get fixed this week? If they can fix that, That's one piece, I think, that will make them competitive against Louisville, that'll make them competitive against Syracuse, against UNC, and Pitt. I don't like the matchup against SMU. I just think that's going to be a tough one. But I think if you can get that offense to stop turning the ball over and move the field using Tommy's biggest skill, I think that's going to make this offense even more effective. Secondly, use Turbo. If they use Turbo, I think this offense is going to be even at another level. We saw he had a 40-yard run. He's had a lot of really good runs. I no offense to Kai Robichaux, but Turbo Richard should be your every down big back. You're going to use Trayshawn Ward for passes. I get that. And Turbo's not the same kind of running back. So Trayshawn's going to always have those snaps. But when you're debating, should I play with Kai? Should I play with Turbo? At this point of the season, you have to play Turbo. I look, one of the big question marks is pass blocking. Do me a favor and don't look at what Kai Robichaux's pass blocking grade was against Virginia Tech. I think it was like 18. He had a tough game. So even against good, if that's the case, if he's getting killed, Turbo's gonna. What's the difference? You're gonna have a better back out there. So I hate saying it because Kai was so great last year. He had such a great year, and it was such a nice story to have a guy that just came kind of out of nowhere to lead your offense at times. It's got to be Turbo at this point. You don't have the guards with Christian Mahogany and Kyle Hergel to kind of give him the space to do it. Turbo can do it with subpar play in front of him. I think he can make chicken salad out of chicken, what. So I think that's another reason to be excited. I also want to say another reason I think that's starting to click is the play of the tight ends. We haven't seen a lot of tight end plays up until the last couple of weeks, but we've seen a steady diet this year of Kamari Morales and this week, Jeremiah Franklin. I think it's been a couple of weeks of Jeremiah Franklin. They're playing very good. You have two good tight ends right now that you can utilize more often. And I think as they continue to use them, that's going to help your offense move. So the last piece is schematics. The BC offense needs to blueprint what they did against Florida State. That should be their gold standard for every game going forward. In that game, they used the power run and Tommy Castellanos to maul Florida State. Now, Florida State is bad. I get they're bad, but you're playing some other teams that don't have great defenses that you can do things to. Louisville's running defense is not good. They're not good. UNC's run defense is not good. You can do things like that. And a lot of these games are going to be at home. You're going to have that home cooking to go with it. So a schematic piece of here should be going, I think that BC, if they go more towards, we're going to run the ball, hold the ball, and stop trying to push down the field so much, I think they can neutralize a lot of these offenses. So I think that offense should be a reason to be excited because I think they can fix the fumbles. If they fix the fumbles, there's a lot of hope that can be in that group. And the fumbles, there's one man in charge of most of these. It's Tommy. Tommy can hold the ball onto the ball. He can lead teams to victory. I think as long as you have him, there's a reason to be optimistic. Now, in a moment, I want to get into why the defense is still okay and not something that you should be throwing yourself off the Tobin Bridge about. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. Now, if you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the job. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn job users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. 2.5 small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. You should be too. Terms and conditions apply. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black. I want to tell you about Locked On Louisville. I'm going to keep using that word just like that. Locked On Louisville, as I was told, it sounds like if you have peanut butter in your mouth, is hosted by Dalton Pence. It's a great podcast talking about the Louisville Cardinals, and you need to check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, I'm giving you some reasons to be optimistic. I had to get this episode out there, not because I'm wearing maroon and gold sunglasses here. I'm not. I get why you folks are worried about this team, but I also think it's a 2-game sample, and people are freaking out about a game against Virginia Tech at Blacksburg that went poorly, and a game against Virginia where things just kind of came off the rails near the end because of turnovers. It's been a common theme. The season still has 5 games left. There's still, like, if you truly believe that Bill O'Brien is the right hire for this team, then you should not be so down on what they have. Now, there's issues. There's definitely issues, right? I look at the defensive line. There's not a lot of pass rush out of that group. I don't think that's going to change, and I'm worried about that. But defensively, I think I really like what Tim Lewis has done to get this team in defense at a better spot than they were last year. Again, Virginia Tech was a different animal. And, there were times where they were giving up points that, like they got 7 points because Thomas Castellanos fumbled it in the red zone of Virginia Tech. But there were other times where you let up 300 plus yards rushing. So that was an issue. I think Tim Lewis has enough talent on this defense to still pull off wins. BC's ability to get turnovers in every game they've played has been clutch, and that's going to win them games. Because again, if I go back to the offense, if the offense stops turning the ball over, the defense turning the ball over, getting turnovers, is going to turn the tide of these games. Just think about what happened against Virginia Tech. That first half was a train wreck. On offense and defense, it was bad. But the defense and they had 2 turnovers, almost flipped that game on its side because they got the ball in great shape. They flipped the momentum of the game. That's happened in multiple games for BC this year. It's a hallmark of their DNA. Just like their inability to stop to pass rush, other than Donovan Ezeiruaku, their ability to get turnovers will help them. There's plenty of quarterbacks out there that they're going to play against that will make mistakes. Tyler Shug, who they're playing against this weekend, he could make some mistakes. Kyle McCord, who's played very well, has thrown turnovers. They could do that. So I look at their ability to do that as one big reason to still be optimistic. I also go back to Donovan Ezeiruaku. When you have a game-changing defensive player, which he is, again, that could get you wins. We've already seen him win BC one game. He won against Western Kentucky. That was him. Could he do it again? We could see. Virginia Tech had a very good game plan to keep him out of that. They just kept, rolling out away from him, and no one else could do anything. Now BC's got to figure out how to make sure that they can figure out how to counteract that. Because if they're just going to keep rolling out away from him, that's going to be for a long last couple of games. But they got to figure some stuff out there. But I look at their opportunistic defense. I look at Ezeiruaku, And again, I go back to things they need to clean up and things that Jeff Hafley, Bill O'Brien needs to drill into them is lane integrity and tackling. The tackling last game was abysmal. And for the first time all season, and you saw pieces of it against Virginia, they kind of reverted back to the way they were under Hafley, where they were just missing tackles all over the place. Can Bill O'Brien fix that? If he can fix that, again, that's going to put them in better shape to win some football games and a reason for you to be optimistic about them. So I'd love to see Ezeiruaku finish this season off with some big games. Nothing would be better to have a guy like him be the hallmark of what this first year of Bill O'Brien has done. No one would have expected that your defense led you to some wins, but I could totally see Ezeiruaku doing that. Like, he's such a good player right now, and he's playing at such a high level that, especially at home, when you have that home cooking, that home energy, the vibes at Alumni Stadium, that can win you some games. So I think that's a big thing. Finally, let's talk some special teams too. Field goals, I give you the big giant shrug. I don't know what's going on with field goals because they've tried 2 field goals. One of them they botched the snap, the other one they hit. Other than that, inconsistency. Punting has been better. Again, to be optimistic here, it only could go up from what they were at the beginning of the year when they were shanking everything and just, abysmal. I like what they've done, kind of changing up the punting. Ivan Savenko has done a nice job there. He's improved. You got to have to clean some other things up here, though. I'm not the biggest fan of Isaiah Ferris as a kick returner. You got Cam Martinez, you got Lewis Bond. There's an area here where you can get yards for your defense and offense. You got to do it. I don't know. Ferris, especially last week, he took somewhere he should have fair caught and he almost got his head taken off. I'm not sure he's the answer. We'll have to wait and see there. But these are reasons to be optimistic. The season's not over yet. You still have 5 games in front of you, and you can win some of them because they're at home. You got to clean some stuff up, though. But if they do, this can still be an exciting team. This is a team that's still worth watching. It can still be frustrating. I'm not going to deny that. But there's reasons to be excited about BC football still. There's still games, and we'll see if they can clean this up or if this is an endemic, bigger issue for them going down the road. But we'll have to wait and see there. Now, in our final segment, I want to get into a recruit that you need to know about who committed to BC over the summer and has absolutely blown up this year. And not in terms of interest, but with his own play. I'll explain who that is and why you need to know about him in just a moment. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And with hockey and basketball coming around, you can make bets on FanDuel as well. I went on, speaking of like in the middle of a game, I was thinking of making a wager on the Celtics. They were opening up after winning banner number 18. And I missed the start of the game. And I was like, oh, man. But they have live betting. And so I got in at the Celtics at minus 8.5. And the last I checked when I was recording this on Tuesday night, the Celtics were up by 30. So I still was able to do it. And the best part with what you get on FanDuel, too, they had a no sweat bet for that game and the New York Knicks game, meaning that I could go in there, make a wager. And if I lost, I got credits back, so I still technically didn't lose. That's what FanDuel has. I love it. There's always no sweat bets, profit boost. There's all sorts of great additions that you can add to your bets every single day on FanDuel. So get yourself started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on FanDuel. Yes, get there, sign up, download that app. That's FanDuel.com. Locked on Boston College, AJ Black. We're wrapping things up here as we're talking recruiting. 2 episodes in a row of recruiting here on Locked on BC. I'm going to give you some more updates here. Now, BC is going to have another crew on campus on Friday for official visits or unofficial visits. Actually, I think it's going to be an official visit. I mentioned that on yesterday's show. But One guy that won't be here, that at least I don't think he's coming this weekend, is 26 quarterback Corinne Berry. This is a kid out of California. And when he committed, I was a little hesitant because he came in, he was a rising junior. He started last year, but I think he had completed 45% of his passes and actually had thrown more interceptions than touchdowns, which in high school football is terrible. So I was like, okay, what are they seeing here that I'm missing? What is going on that, like, that they would take him that early? When I talked to the staff, they had him on campus. They had him throw. They're like, AJ, you got to wait to see what he has. He had no offensive line, and his wide receivers weren't all that great. So maybe, trust us on this one. I'm like, okay, I'll trust you on this. I'll see what we got here. Well, this Corinne Berry, his junior year, has shut me up. All my skepticism about this guy has flipped to absolute anticipation to see what this guy is going to become when he gets on campus for Boston College, because this kid's going to be special. He's thrown for 2,600 yards. I think it's through 8 games, but with 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and his completion percentage is like 67%. His numbers are absurd. Like, we're talking, he's a 3-star right now on 247. Once he gets to camps where some of the scouts are going to see him more, and I assume he's going to get invited to Elite 11, the quarterback competition. He'll probably do the regional. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets past that. Could he become a 4-star quarterback? I think he could. I mean, when you're putting up video game numbers like this every week it's like 3-4 touchdowns, 270 yards, 270 yards, 350 yards. In California, which is a good football area. I think he plays for Covina Catholic or something like that. I'm screwing the name up. They're going to get noticed. I would not be surprised if he gets more attention, but I know right now for folks that are like, AJ, why are you talking about him? Because other schools are going to find out about him, and then he's going to leave BC, or he's going to decommit from BC. I know from my conversations, BC got on him early. They're one of their first offers. He has a great relationship with the staff, with Jonathan DiBiaso, with Bill O'Brien. That is going to hopefully get them through any rush of offers that he gets, because he's connected, and he truly likes BC. This is not like I just chose BC because they're the first that offered me. He's got a true connection to this program now. Shaker Reisig, Mitch taught me how to say his last name, the quarterback that's committed for the class of 2025. You look at his statistics so far during his senior year, and it's a little like, he's, when Mitch saw him, I think he threw for 100 yards. But I know they're excited about him too. So you get some quarterbacks that are much more what Bill O'Brien is looking for. Berry is not, and I think you might think, oh, he's going to just go for pocket passers. Berry can run too. He's averaging like 10 yards a carry. He's doing very well running the ball. So it's not like he wants, just, statues that you can just fling the ball like, some people think of like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning could do. He wants guys that can move too. So these guys are not going to be like Thomas Castellanos. They're going to be more mobile. And I think that's something to look forward to too. And I also wanted to follow up before we head out with a little nugget for you that are following along with recruiting news. Because yesterday I mentioned defensive line, that they were looking at edge rushers and defensive tackles, and they got some guys that they are looking at specifically that could be coming for official visits in the next couple of weeks. They're also still looking at offensive line. I know I can hear you all cheering for that right now. You're all going, yay, they need more offensive line help. They just offered, and I'm going to mess it. I'm going to try my best with his name. I'm not going to mess it up. Dennis Ezeiruaku, who's a commit to Georgia State. And Dennis has an offer from Virginia Tech that just came out too. So this is a guy, again, that other schools are looking at. It does not mean that he's going to be an immediate like, oh, BC's just going after, G5 schools and this is what they do. This is a guy that's starting to get bigger attention. I have reached out. I have not gotten any idea yet if he's going to take an official visit yet or not. Imagine he probably will. Probably will take one to Virginia Tech too. We'll have to wait to see what happens there. But that's another position that they're looking at. See, coaching staffs, they love to look at, they get the bulk of their class in before the summer ends, but they still go for senior film to get some offers. And as I said, with like Jaden Fry and Sterling Shepard and Dennis Oshkuchku, these are guys that are committed to smaller schools, but clearly the staff have watched their senior huddle films or their tape and are impressed enough that they want to get them here. So this is another guy. He's a 3-star recruit, lower 3-star, but he's starting to pick up offers. I'm sure he'll probably get a few more. We'll have to wait to see if they get him on campus. But that is kind of where we're at. Now, the rest of this week is completely booked with shows. We got it all covered here at Locked On BC, and I hope you guys are sticking around. On tomorrow's show, I'm going to be joined by Locked On Louisville's Dalton Pence, who's going to talk to us. We're going to have a back and forth discussion about BC and the Cardinals. You're going to want to hear our thoughts on that. And then on Friday's show, I'll be joined by Mitchell Wolf. We'll give our predictions, and he's my writer at Eagle Insight. I've always been told to keep telling you guys who that is because you guys might not know who he is. Great writer. You'll want to hear his thoughts and predictions for the game. And then late on Friday night after the press conference, I'll be going live on the Locked On Boston postcast to give my thoughts about the game. So make sure you check us out there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Find Locked On Boston Postcast. If you're listening to this now, hit that subscribe button. I get a little kick out of smoking like the Patriots and the Celtics and the Bruins shows. I would love to have you guys all listening to it too. Be like, hey, look, BC is still really is kind of listened to here. Look we're doing better than the Celtics. I'm just saying. I want you guys to help me with that. So find Locked On Boston Postcast on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you again for another episode tomorrow of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.